Okay, so hi, I'm Azim Edwin with the Not Leave Voting Rights Project, and I am with Pam Bixby of the League of Women Voters, Austin. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your organization?
Sure. So the organization, the League of Women Voters Austin area, is the local chapter of the organization. There's three levels. There's local, then there's a state chapter, and then there's a national chapter. So we are just concerned with Central Texas, basically. And my role with the league is I am the vice president of voter service, and that includes several programs, including our voter registration and get out the vote efforts, our high school voter registration program, our candidate forums. So when there are local elections happening, mayor and city council races, we run candidate forums. And then we also do our voters guide that comes under my area.
Okay, very interesting. And can you describe, I guess, some things that are unique about Texas in the voter process that might make it more difficult or more accessible for voters in the state?
Sure. So one of the reasons that the league exists, and many other organizations, for that matter, is to help voters in three areas: voter registration, voter education, and getting to the polls, voter turnout. And so I kind of feel like the reason we're necessary is because there are issues in all those areas. In every state has issues, and we have identified areas that are particularly troublesome in this state and in this county, and so we work to fill the holes. And so some of the things that we've discovered, and actually I can even tell you a little bit about why I got involved. I mean, that might be helpful to say why did I personally get involved in the League of Women Voters. And that is, I never thought about voting. I've always voted. I've voted in many states. I've lived in Maryland and Virginia and Pennsylvania and Florida. And, I always was a homeowner. I had an address. I had a driver's license. I just assumed, it was easy for everybody. But the first time my oldest child went off to college, I thought I would help her get an absentee ballot or a vote by mail, ballot, because she wasn't going to be home during an election. This was in 2016, I guess.
Okay.
And so I went to I kind of did a little research. I'm like, oh, here's the application. And I held on to it until the appropriate time, because there's a window of time that you can fill that out if you're going to be out of the county. There's only 4 reasons I discovered that you can complete a vote by mail ballot in Texas. And one of those is you're out of the county, you're disabled, or you're over 65, or you're in jail. Those are the 4 reasons why you can request a vote by mail ballot. That's not the case in many other states. Many other states, you can get a ballot for any reason.
Okay.
Some states just mail everybody, a ballot by mail.
Okay.
So anyway, I was trying to help her do that, and I realized there's this very tiny text on the application that says you can scan and email this, which would be awesome for young people, right? Our young people these days don't even know what a post office is.
Very much so.
Don't have
What is that?
Exactly. And so I thought to her, I was like, okay, great. She can scan it. She can send it in. She's done. And then I saw this little text that said, if you're emailing this form, you must also put it in the mail within 4 days of emailing it. So boom, that just infuriated me. And I just thought, how can this be? How could this obstacle be thrown up for young people? It just made no sense to me. Anyway, so I started getting involved and learning more and more about just a lot of hoops to jump through for people that aren't, as I said, if you've lived in your home for 15 years and you have a car and, super easy, right? You've been registered, you go to vote, you don't have to worry about getting knocked off the rolls, you don't have to worry about changing your address and making sure your driver's license matches your registration, all that kind of stuff. So if you're a young person who might move a lot, if you don't own a car, if you, if you don't have access to a photo ID, many states don't require a photo ID. Texas is one that does. And so that can be an impediment as well. So for all those reasons, the league works to assist voters in understanding how to register to vote. Another thing that Texas does that many other states don't, in fact, 39 states allow you to register to vote online. Texas does not allow you to do that.
Okay.
And that's a point of a lot of confusion, because there are organizations such as Register to Vote, and there's other ones that offer online registration. And when a young person sees that, they think, oh, great, I'm going to register, I'm done. I'm going to do it online. But that's not the case. There's many other steps. You have to fill out your information online. That goes to Register to Vote. They print out a card. That card gets mailed to you. You sign it. You mail it back. And so there's added steps that aren't really that, shouldn't be necessary. In 1993, there was an act signed into law that's familiarly known as the Motor Voter Law, which is supposed to, when you renew your driver's license, you should be offered voter registration. And that's a requirement. All states are supposed to do that. Some states require extra steps, and Texas is one of those also. So you can't just, they would consider that because you can renew your voter license online, they consider that online voter registration, which is not allowed in Texas. So they require, there's a couple other steps you have to take in order to have access to that. So again, just throwing up, obstacles, hoops to jump through that aren't really necessary. Our goal, the league's goal, is greater participation in democracy and in voting, greater access. We believe everyone who's a citizen and who's eligible should have easy access to the the ballot box. And and some states make it, they believe, it seems like their philosophy is restrict it as much as possible, And so, and it's not just Texas. There's other states, Republican and Democrat alike, and as you know, the league is nonpartisan. So we look at the policies, and we have our positions on voter registration and access, and, we react to what we see.
And I guess as a final question, do you feel like some of these steps are targeted, and do you think that they tangibly suppress the vote and tangibly affect turnout for people that are eligible to vote, citizens, have the necessary paperwork, X, Y, and Z?
Yes. Well, I would say, I actually looked at some numbers just to be like real data driven about it. So
I like that.
Yeah, in 2016, Texas was 8th to last in terms of voter turnout. We had that was a general election, which is usually brings in, more voters because it's a higher visibility. We had 42.6% of eligible voters cast a vote in 2016. That was 8th to last. And there was a range in Texas. There were a couple of counties had pretty high voter registration or voter turnout, but the lowest one was 18%. In 2018, in the midterm, we had a 46.3% turnout. That's some people cheered that, like, wow, that's great, 46.3% in a midterm. But that's still half the people who are eligible to vote are not getting out there. So there's a variety of reasons for that. One of the reasons among many is that there are so many hoops to jump through, and some people, people who work a couple of jobs to make ends meet. As I mentioned before, young people in college who, don't live at the home, their parents' home address. They move many often, you know, keeping up their driver's license may not be a priority if they live on a campus. So it's easy for people like me who have a stable home that I've been in for years, and I have a car and easy access to my photo ID. It's much more difficult for other people who don't look like me and who don't have those characteristics, you know.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Ms. Bigfee. Thank you to the league, and I hope you guys continue the work you're doing. Travis County has a large number of people registered to vote. I think it's
Yes.
88%, 90%, something like that.
Our registration is very, very high. In fact, thanks to our voter registration folks at the county, but turnout was still only 52%. So,
I didn't know that.
yeah. So again, it's three parts. It's registration, awesome, education, because if the voters don't feel like they understand the issues or know the candidates well, then they're disinclined to vote, right? And then turnout, and then helping people get to the polls, you know, making sure that there's a nice early voting period, making sure that there's support for, you know, there's a group that just sent us an email a couple weeks ago saying we want to provide babysitting services in neighborhoods that are, you know, maybe more socioeconomically disadvantaged, and so those people are more likely to work, you know, multiple jobs or have trouble finding childcare. And this group wants to work with us to provide babysitting services on election day, so that people can get to the polls. So there's three parts to it, and the league tries to help in each of those parts: registration, education, and turnout.
Well, thank you so much to the league, and thank you to you.